machine. Stay on the scene.
All right, well, I'm headed out, and there are probably 30 cars on Highway 40. They're doing about 25 miles an hour, and yeah, I'm just going to go a different. I don't need to do that. I have an issue following people going so slow when there's no reason for them to be going so slow. Luckily, there are workarounds. Now, right now, we are just at the Hayden Airport. Sadly, we don't have anything taking off right now, but so I thought this might be a great time to just get a little back road in. We're heading to Steamboat still. I'm just taking a different route, one that might keep us out of the ridiculous traffic that we've got. It's like there's a plane getting ready to taxi anyway out there, so that's interesting. Oh gosh, those people are wearing masks. Yeah, I'm not the element. Hey, I got a story for you. This is this is Atlantic Aviation. So over the weekend, I was having lunch with my friends at a local restaurant, and this particular restaurant is kind of noisy inside. Well, I can tell you that much about it. And so we sat down, and then a guy that I know and his wife came in, and they sat down, and they were on the opposite side of the building. And in a way, they were sort of like symmetrically opposed to us. I mean, they were sitting a few feet from the far wall. We were sitting a few feet from the near wall where we were at. Anyway, so we're talking, and this is 2023, right? So Colorado has enacted a bunch of Californication type laws, and one of the laws was you can only sell cage-free eggs, but they have to be something about the cage-free that most suppliers apparently can't meet. So now there's apparently an egg shortage, or potentially an egg shortage in Colorado, on top of what appears to be, I've heard rumors of people hoarding stuff. And I actually saw some people a few days ago, an old couple, that were buying up all kinds of toilet paper. And at the time I thought, I wonder if they're hoarding this or what, or if they're just live out in the country and are just buying a lot of, stocking up. But apparently there's this ridiculous stuff going on. The media apparently has got everybody, well, the people that listen to that crap concerned. So anyway, on this backdrop, we are talking about what the state of Colorado did. And, that was my... By the way, let me do something real fast here. Like that. Okay, let's try that. Okay, just aligning the camera. Let me back this back up. So we're talking about this stuff, and I'm just being my usual self. And when I'm with these people, I'm a little boisterous, and I'm over the top about things. And so what I'm saying and what I'm doing is like I said, it's over the top. And if someone were to overhear my conversation, they would think, oh, that guy's a gigantic asshole. Now, maybe I am a gigantic asshole anyway, but so but I have this, like I said, there's just this, we have this, our method of communication, and we understand that we're over the top. Anyway, so we're talking about this stuff, and I'm doing my typical, I guess you could call it, the routine about government, and politically, you know how I'm aligned. I'm not a leftist, and so we're talking about all these different things, and at some point after we're done eating, and the people that came in after us, apparently they're done eating. Well, I kind of looked over there a couple times because I could see him. And by the way, the guy and his wife that came in, I've known them forever, since I was a teenager. I remember them when they were very, very irresponsible kids, and I remember them trying to talk me into irresponsible activities way back when I was actually a good kid. Then I became an irresponsible kid. Thank you. So these people, so those are the people, and they're not bad people, not at all. But I'm just saying that they are people, and they were kids, and they did things that they're probably ashamed of. And I don't know even if that plays into the story, but this is kind of in my mind. So the guy comes up to me, like puts his hands on my shoulders, behind me, and he said, you were talking really, really loud, and we could hear everything. And I am really surprised that the owner didn't ask you to leave. And I said, really? He said, yeah, I'm surprised the owner didn't ask you to leave. And then he left, and he went back over across the restaurant to where his wife was sitting, and his wife had kind of a cranky look on her face, I think. It looked like she was unhappy about something, and apparently it was me. So they left, and I thought about that, and I thought, I understand that I'm boisterous, and I understand that I was absolutely not trying to telegraph my discussion across a restaurant, not at all. I have noticed another thing recently, because I've been practicing this filming stuff, right? Well, when I'm done filming and I've talked, because I'm trying to come up with things to talk about, it's like I'm a speaker of sorts, and I think my voice is stronger. Or maybe I'm losing my hearing. I don't know. I don't really understand. Well, actually, here's what I think. I think the acoustics of the place and where I was sitting and where they were sitting were perfect for them to hear everything I said. Apparently, because I wasn't trying to, I believe that I have a reasonable sense of volume. And I've got some hearing issues, but they're not that bad. I don't think. Maybe they are. So I was puzzled, and I'm still puzzled. And so I was thinking, well, what could it be? And this is a great format to look at what could have actually been going on. And so let's say one scenario was exactly what he said, that I was talking loudly and that he could hear everything that I said. And I was boisterous, but I wasn't. I mean, here's the thing. When I talk, when I'm with these people, and I kind of put this persona on, and they understand. They know that I'm kidding. They know that I'm kind of acting characters. The people that we know, or I'm over the top, and it's the way that we communicate, and they understand me and I understand them. So it's not, I guess what I'm saying is that if a stranger were to hear me, they would not understand what I was talking about, how I was talking, cussing, because I will cuss, not because I just want to cuss, but mainly for effect. Now, there are times when I'm angry, especially when I talk about the government and how the government's betrayed us. I get pretty mad about that and I'll cuss. So, but when I'm with these people, cussing is sort of a routine, and it's kind of it's an over-the-top thing and I'm doing it to be over the top, and they know it. So anyway, so that's the backdrop of this, and maybe they heard me not understanding that I'm, like I said, what I've just explained, that I'm being a bit over the top. It's not, but the thing is my conversation was absolutely not intended for anyone else. It was not intended for them. It was not intended for anyone. And so maybe there's a question to be asked, which is, well, maybe not. So maybe the scenario that I just talked about, which was just taking it at face value, was true. Maybe they were sitting over there and could hear everything I was saying and were shocked at how horrible of a person I was for the things that I was saying, not understanding that, like I said, that I have a certain way, a cadence, if nothing else, when I'm talking to these people and we're talking about stuff. We get together and we kind of talk about the week's events, and that's what we were doing. And so they usually have the news. I don't, because I'm usually on the road or busy working. I'm in my shop. So they usually tell me stories, and they tell me the local happenings, and then I react to that, and then and that's kind of how we work. Anyway, so the first scenario could be the case. Maybe that was just simply that, just like that, and maybe it wouldn't surprise me at all that I would offend someone if they didn't understand what was going on, if they didn't get it. So maybe that's all that happened. But I'm also wondering, I think we can say this much. I think I can say this much about this thing. Hey, look at that. That's a little one of these things. Looks like it crapped out. This one does need to do that. This one needs to hang in there. That looks like the high horsepower version of this. CR2, I believe. So maybe the other scenario is, now, in this first scenario, I'm assuming that these people have got the same political values that I have and that my friends have. Anyway, so another scenario would be they heard me talking and that it wasn't as much my cadence, but it was the message, because I'm a very anti-leftist person and a very anti-Democrat person. I just think Democrats I think anyone who's a Democrat today, they are because their family was, because they've lost touch of what the Democratic Party is, or they're actually leftists. And so maybe that's the case. Maybe these people who I've known all my life, but I've never really inquired about their political leanings. So maybe they are leftists. I don't know. Maybe the wife is a leftist, or maybe the guy is a leftist. I do not know. But it could also be that they were upset with me because talking loudly, okay, I get that. But then my subject matter, which was obviously unflattering for anyone on the left and unflattering for a Democrat to hear. So if that's the case, then these people might have been doubly shocked because I am cussing in public. They aren't supposed to hear this though, right? It's just for me and the people at my table. So I'm cussing in public, I'm over the top about things, and now I'm a damn conservative. And probably if they are leftists, I'm probably also that damn white supremacist, because that's pretty much where I think you're supposed to go immediately when someone is not on the left and you do it, right? The fact that the guy said, I'm surprised that the owner didn't ask you to leave. Well, I know the owner. I consider the owner almost a friend. I mean, he's a strong acquaintance, to say that. And in fact, after they left, They were closing. He came up and was talking to us, saying exactly the same things that we were saying. Exactly. Almost verbatim. Now, he may not have been, putting on an act as much, but as a restaurant owner, he was a little bit concerned because one of the things that restaurants, especially restaurants that do breakfasts mainly, and that's this type of a restaurant, they close early, they need eggs. Eggs are a big deal. So, and he was talking about how much eggs cost and they're expensive, and how bacon's kind of hard to get now. Now apparently eggs are more expensive than bacon. So all this, let me just say it, for those of you that don't want to hear me cuss, I'm going to cuss right now. For all this bullshit that the government is pushing on us, he was pretty upset about it, and I don't blame him. Now, I don't know whether or not he heard me talking, but he was talking about the same stuff, but it didn't seem like he was all that fired up to kick me out. Maybe so. I don't know. I don't have any idea if the people that, if the guy that came up to me and complained had talked to the owner. Maybe more stuff was going on. Maybe he went to the owner and said, that guy's being an asshole. Could you ask him to leave? And in a way, I would think that if that's the case, if he actually did something like that, I would say he's probably not a conservative, because I would think that a conservative would just come over and say, hey, you're bothering my wife, or you're bothering me. I just want to point that out, which is kind of what he did. He came over and he told me he was bothered. I mean, in so many words, right? So, I don't know. So I'm left wondering several things. But at the end of the day, I kind of like these people. I've never really had any major differences with them. And I don't know whether they are Republican or Democrat or conservative or whatever. I don't know any of that stuff. All I do know is that they listened to a conversation that was not meant for them. At the same time, I wasn't belittling anyone at all. I mean, other than Democrats and leftists. So if they were one or the other, yeah, they probably took offense to it. But it wasn't their conversation. It wasn't theirs to hear. And from the way I was confronted, it appears that he thought I was doing this on purpose, talking really loudly so everyone could hear. So I was apparently trying to be a big asshole in his mind, I guess. So I don't know. Or maybe they weren't even upset at all. Maybe they were just saying, boy, Wes is sure loud. Yeah, my first name is Wes. So anyway, I don't really know how to respond to that. I'm actually probably not going to. It's really not that big of a deal. It wasn't their conversation to begin with. So how they heard it is somewhat of a mystery to me, because I certainly wasn't trying to broadcast my opinion all over that restaurant. I really think that it was an acoustic property of the restaurant that was the culprit. And I say that thinking about a project that I was working on in the 90s. Now keep in mind, I'm a conservative. And at the time in the 90s, alternate energy was not really political. It was just, another form of energy. And I was working on a parabolic reflector that was actually really cool. I built the I guess you would call it the software for it. Actually, just a bunch of analog circuits that would allow it to point to the sun and turn on and, whatever. was relatively rudimentary, but the thing worked. It was about seven. No, it was about a 7. It was a 7-foot diameter dish, but keep in mind this is in the shape of a sphere. You know, an inverted sphere to be inside of the sphere. So the thing was capable. I mean, I measured it at about 4.5 horsepower. The ability when it was in the sun and that was timing the amount of time it took to heat up the amount of water in the boiler that I built for it to a certain degree, a certain temperature, and a certain pressure. And it worked out to be about 4.5 horsepower, which was actually pretty good. I didn't think it would be that good. But one of the side effects of this parabolic dish was that you could talk in it in a really low voice, and somebody several feet away could hear you. You know, you have to be lined up to make this work. So it's a matter of the physics have to be right. And when they talk, you could hear them. So it would collect audio frequency, and it would transmit audio frequency in a really cool fashion. And not only that, but when I was a kid, I believe that I saw this in the State Fair of Oklahoma. I think there was an exhibition hall where there was a parabolic dish set up, and the way that it worked, I'm pretty sure it was Oklahoma. Maybe it was in Denver. Anyway, the idea was that there was a parabolic dish on one side of this exhibit hall, pointing into the exhibit hall. Actually, it was pointing at another parabolic dish, little display, that was on the other side of the exhibit hall. And so the idea was that you and your friend, one of you goes to the parabolic dish on the other side of the exhibit hall, which was 100 feet, 200 feet, I don't know. It was a pretty large distance, full of people, noisy, you know, crowd, you know, crowd noise. Anyway, you could carry on a conversation with that person from one wall to the other through all that noise. It was very cool. And so my parabolic dish had the same quality, but you had to be standing at a particular area so that you were in its focal range, and the person at the dish needed to be in a certain area to be in the focal range also. So anyway, understanding that and how dramatic of an effect that was, I kind of think that maybe that's why they were able to hear me. But I do understand I talk loud. I'm a loud talker when I want to be. And there are times when I will talk loud. If I see somebody, like if you're in a restaurant and you notice somebody noticing what you're saying, then sometimes I'll either talk louder or quieter, depending on the subject of the conversation and the circumstance. But I usually do that with a sense of humor, like a humorous thing behind it. And if I'm cussing, if I'm over the top in that way, it more than likely would be somebody that I know that knows that they understand my sense of humor. So, and apparently my friend who complained to me and his wife may not understand my sense of humor. I would say that's probably one of the things that I could get out of this. So, okay, so I've broken it down a little bit. So what do we know? We know I was talking with some cadence. I was cussing. I was over the top. We were talking about government stuff. I was pointing out certain things that they were telling me about the events of the week. And we were talking about it was political, because it's political, obviously political. And I think also the bags in grocery stores. Now you have to pay for each bag, and then that money goes to a fund to educate people about some bullshit. So we were talking about that also. I mean, just ridiculous shit that the state of Colorado is enacting. And they're basically mimicking California. So, what sucks is that I own a house here. Although, I don't have to. I guess I could sell it and move, but I may. I might. So for this route to work, this road, which I tried to go down, in fact I have a video of it, I turned around, needs to be plowed. But the weather's quite a bit better here. So that's a really good thing. Really good thing. That looks better. Oh yeah, it's sanded and everything. We did get some snow this morning, but I'm actually started late. Well, it feels like it might be a little bit. We'll see. We will see. So what do we know? We know I was talking. I was boisterous, or I was over the top, but I wasn't being allowed. I was absolutely not being allowed because I was cussing and being ridiculous, and that was not for anyone there except for my friends that I was sitting with. But we also know that inadvertently my voice could be heard clearly all the way across not a real busy restaurant, but a noisy restaurant. I mean, they're working on stuff, they're doing their thing. Everyone's, people are doing their deal, it's a restaurant. You have all kinds of noises, timers, fans, mainly probably timers, air handling, heating. So, through all that, they were able to hear me clearly enough to become annoyed. I would say also that even though the guy that came up to me wasn't visibly angry, I think for him to come up to me like that, he was either annoyed, like I said, or he was actually just pointing out that they could hear everything that I said. Now, and maybe that's the case. Maybe I'm reading more into it than there really was. So that's why I'm just going to kind of leave it alone. And the next time I'm at that restaurant, if we're sitting in that spot, I'm going to be quite a bit quieter. So I guess that's my big story. And I'm not really left with a satisfying answer. So that's what it is, and I can do with it what I want, I guess. So we are on County Road 33. County Road 33 is off of 20 Mile Road, and this heads up towards Steamboat. Actually, it heads up to Steamboat, and then it becomes the River Road. Yeah, I believe so. I believe it's the same road. And it takes longer to go this way, but the calculations that I did in my head were this. These people were driving, this huge batch of people were driving at 25 miles an hour. We still have 25 miles to go to get to Steamboat. So the time to get there would be doubled from 25 minutes, actually a little bit longer than that because we're going relatively slow, probably 30 minutes to probably an hour. On this particular road, I can go about 35 to 40, and it's about, depending on which turn I take up here, it's between 10 and 15 miles extra. So time-wise, we will be similar and maybe a little bit ahead of the pack of cars that I left on Highway 40. But it is more mileage, but you know, I mean, I would much rather be on this road. Notice how many people are on this road, by the way, than that road, which had 25 cars maybe in front of me, and there were 8 or 9 vehicles behind me, and they're only going to accrue. The only place where that would change would be there's a passing lane, a 2-mile passing lane. However, the line of cars was so long that on a good day on a clear, clean road, I don't even think you could get around that long line of cars on that spot. Unless you were doing twice the speed limit. So you'd be doing, what, 120, 130 miles an hour to try to get around. So it just made no sense to even buy that. I'm going to be slowed down. There's just no doubt. This is a rough day. And it's going to be a rough day. And it's going to be a long day because we have to go to Fraser. And I'm mulling over what route I want to take into Fraser, because the roads are so nasty. However, adding howevers and by the ways and so forth. Why, yeah, and yawn. The weather is so bad right now here on the, what is the second or the third? The weather is so bad everywhere that I don't think it really even matters which way I go. So, but it's a shame that I'm already going to be 30 minutes later just getting in a steamboat, and I got to show up today in steamboat. So, so this is life. Today in a winter rural area, 2-lane highway. You know, I really think that the road, that Highway 40 should be a 4-lane highway. It should be a 4-lane highway everywhere. I also believe that because it's on the western slope, even though it does run through some liberal leftist towns, you know, the ski towns are all pretty much leftist towns, or more so than the rural towns. Rural towns are, you know, they're farmers and ranchers. You know, they're people. They're regular people. But the gentrified areas are basically where people are becoming, you know, sort of the leftist thing. the leftist disease, which, I mean, it is a bad thing. The issues that we were talking about this weekend are probably no big deal for someone who is wealthy, who has thousands of dollars available at any moment for groceries, and has millions of dollars available at any moment for toys, and has more millions available for whatever they want to do. Someone like that is probably easily able to afford being concerned about the plight of chickens and about the number of bags that someone uses at a store. You have to buy your bags now. And this is all climate change. This is all climate change bullshit. No, I'm not all that, Danny. I keep all these plastic bags that I get at the store, and I use them again. I don't just throw them away. So that's me. But the point of this is that these political changes that are happening in Colorado are not actually happening because we are voting for them. Or if they're on the ballot, I do not trust our voting in Colorado. We have a very corrupt Secretary of State, and we've seen it. We've seen it here in a couple counties in Colorado. What this person will do to steal votes and to enact their policy. She's an awful person. So we really don't have much of a say. I guess that's the takeaway here. We really don't have much of a say in what's going on here, because the state of Colorado is now is ruling by decree. I mean, that's basically what they're doing. If it goes to a vote, the vote always falls with them. It always goes in their favor now. It used to not. But since Dominion, the vote always goes in their favor. Well, I'll take it back. Glor and Bober was able to beat them, but it was really iffy. And you know that they steal, they get as much as they think they can get to win, but they try not to get over the top because they want to try to be they want to try to carry on with a degree of credibility that they know they couldn't do if 99% of the votes always were in their favor. So they play a little game, I'm sure. I mean, if I were a corrupt Democrat, I know how to do this stuff. I'm a person, I understand how to do bad things. So how we doing? Oh, we're good. It's always tricky when on a road like this, when you don't have any feel for where the road actually is, or where you're at on the road. So anyway, a wealthy person, a leftist, well, they're typically wealthy, which is funny because that doesn't make them more intelligent. It just seems that they've pretty much gone to college and are pretty much being paid off for going to college and being a Democrat. You know, that's the trade-off. I don't know if you understand that, but when you go to college nowadays and you end up with that degree, the implication is you're going to be a leftist and you're going to vote Democrat. And because of that, you're going to get doors open for you that you don't get open for you if you're a conservative. Now, I don't think conservatives really care too much about that because we do pretty good on our own. We don't really need that good old boy network that the Democrats have set up because we can pretty much take care of our own selves. Now, we, as a group, may not make as much money as a leftist because we have to go out and get it ourselves. We don't have that kind of help that the leftists have. But we do fine. And I will say this too, I mean, personally, for me, with the minor amount of money that I have, if I were on the left and not able to do things for myself, like a lot of the leftists, I mean, a lot on the left do, you know, specialization is everything on the left, I would have to have a much higher income than I have now to live the lifestyle that I live, to have the things that I have, and to do the things that I do. So when people talk about income and intelligence, I can say that not everything is as it seems. You know, the left likes to believe that they are the sharp sticks in the bundle, and they believe that. One of the things about people who think they're the sharp sticks in the bundle is that they're usually not. There have been studies about this, probably studies done by people on the left to try to prove that people on the right are dumb, you know, because they like that. That's one of the things that the left really likes to go on about. Now, it's been my experience that the most independent thinking people and the smartest people that have the entire package of intelligence and common sense are people that, from my opinion, are on the right, not on the left. Now, on the left, you don't have to be extremely clever. All you have to be is college educated and have a few friends, and you can, you know, I mean, if you're, it takes a little more than that, but you have a lot better chance of finding funding for a business or going public with the business you have. I mean, it's just, that's the way life works. The rewards that people get for being leftists. Okay, I want to put this down here. Second here. You get rewards your entire life being on the left. You get money, you get fame, you get power. That is interesting how that works too, because, and I'm not real big on the Bible or the interpretation thereof, but there are some things that strike me. And one of the things that strike me is that evil people are going to inherit this earth. You know, they're going to inherit this earth. This earth is going to get destroyed. But evil people, that's all their stuff. It's really, I mean, everything on this earth and all money and all that stuff is mainly evil people. That's what they love. That's what they do. I mean, love of money is the big deal, right? So, and I'm not able to quote anything, which might not be such a bad thing, but that's just one of the themes of Christianity, is that the love of money ain't necessarily that great of a thing. But I look at that and I see how the left works, and I see how they take care of each other. They make sure people have money, and I don't think it's for the love of the people. It's for the message, for their message that they're getting out, which really changes all the time. I mean, the cover story changes all the time, but at the end of the day, it's basically communism and subjugation of people that don't agree with them. And it's quite anti-God. They really have a thing against God. They got a chip on their shoulder about God. The ones that will say they actually believe there could be a God, because they like to make fun of people that believe in God. Like, I believe in God. I just can't tell you what God is, but I do believe that it took more than a random explosion to create this universe. And if you don't believe that, well, then you probably are a leftist. Or you've been through the public education system and you haven't thought it through yet. So anyway, as I'm hopping around on these subjects, the left is much better able to afford to pay more for eggs. They're much better able to afford to pay more for whatever they do. And they are rewarded for being on the left. I mean, that's the college system now. So that's how it works. But if you're on the right, I mean, you can be on the right and have a lot of money. But it looks like to me the left pretty much that's their field, that's their sphere. It's their world, money. So that does not mean that someone on the right can't live a good life, because we obviously do live good lives. And that doesn't mean that someone on the right won't have money, because I know a whole lot of people that are conservative that have a whole lot of money. So, but they didn't get it from a college job. They went out and got it on their own. They used their own intellect and their own common sense, and they set up a business, and they saved money, and they did the things that you need to do to become successful. And I do see that as a schism between the right and the left. The left gets bootstrapped. The right, I've never gotten any handouts from the government. I've never gotten any grants or any of that kind of stuff. Not till COVID came along. Then everyone's getting grants and ridiculously, everyone's getting paid off. Very unusual for someone on the right. Maybe not for someone on the left, but for someone on the right for sure. So I'm looking at Highway 40, and I'm looking at a line of cars going slow, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's the same line of cars that I turned away from. Well, apparently it could be another line of cars in front, but we're pretty close, if not a little bit ahead of that group of cars. And it looks like I'm going to get slowed down up here by a van. Well, we'll see. It's not a huge deal. I mean, it's not like if I can't get my job done people aren't going to get their groceries, and that's not really it. But I do like to try to get my work done. Not only that, it would be nice to, so that's where the driving school is. I know that kid, the guy that set that up. He was a classmate of mine. He was also an asshole, but he was a kid. He's probably not a bad guy now, but he broke one of my teeth. For that, I'm not too happy. Oh, yeah? Actually, the guy's doing pretty good. This road's pretty curvy, twisty. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's funny. That's really funny because I'm seeing, I passed a U-Haul truck, and I'm pretty sure I just saw that U-Haul truck across the valley. I passed that U-Haul truck about 7 miles out of Craig. 6 miles out of Craig. So I see him on the road there, and I don't know if we're not going faster than they are. So, and I made this point, maybe, that in this winter weather, you definitely need to drive carefully, but that doesn't mean you have to creep along at 10 or 15 miles an hour, or for that matter, 25 miles an hour, which was the speed that we were being subjected to by somebody. One person was doing this. Keep in mind that one person sets this speed, and then everyone has to go this speed. And so to go all the way back to this thread that I started, it would be nice to see Highway 40 be a 4-lane highway, at least all the way to Craig. All the way from Winter Park or Berthoud Pass, which is where Highway 40 starts, basically, all the way from Berthoud Pass to Craig, because the ski towns have ruined the road as far as a good traveling road. And the ski towns, by the way, which are mainly composed of a bunch of leftists nowadays, get their labor force from these other little towns which aren't leftist towns. Politically, you could say the left has ruined the roads in Colorado. Of course, they brought a lot of money to Colorado in the ski towns. Yeah, what a great thing. I would prefer less traffic in a 2-lane, actually, to this more traffic in a 4-lane, but at this point, we do need a 4-lane road. At least to Craig. Beyond Craig, we have traffic, but it's actually a pretty reasonably decent road, but I don't know that road actually needs to be 2 lanes, 4-lane road. We are getting ready to drop into Steamboat, by the way. Oh, 10 o'clock. Good grief. Yep, it's about half an hour later. just not great traveling weather. I'm also mulling over how I want to go about doing this filming. Oh yeah, we're doing good. I don't think that filming from the start to the finish of my trip makes good sense. It's just too long. It takes days to upload the video. I mean, there's just a whole lot of reasons that I don't think that makes sense. So I'm thinking about doing it from town to town, or like just pick a subject and go with that subject. And so I'm mulling over the idea of going from one town to the next, or doing passes, or maybe both. I mean, just coming up with ways to do smaller segments. So, or I don't know, I might just not even do it anymore at all. I'm certainly not going to get too many views. I don't think that's going to happen. I think that YouTube will keep me throttled down pretty heavily, because of course they can't play fair. They can't allow people to have their actual constitutional right because they don't believe in it. And if they don't believe in it, then they're going to make us follow their beliefs because they are using raw power against us. They don't have the constitutional right to do it. They have the might. That's all they've got. What is that saying? Might doesn't make right? Well, ask the leftists then what they think about that. Because I think the leftists are quite on board with might. Don't give a damn whether it's right or not. That I don't always have to talk about politics. It's just that politics is so infused in everything anymore, it's hard not to. So I think it would be unrealistic for me to not talk about politics. So my favorite road in Steamboat, and now come to that's cool. I wonder if that was that little building, you probably didn't see it, but it's in the shape of a badminton bird. It's actually in the shape of a scrap wood incinerator that used to be common in all these towns. because everyone would collect wood, locally. And there'd be these big tall incinerators that were shaped like a big badminton birdie made out of metal, and they would be making, cooking, burning all the wood, scrap wood, Hmm. Well, I believe that you've seen all this stuff. So I'm just going to go ahead and, well, I'll go ahead and I'll run the video to my stopping point. What the heck, it's not that much longer. There's also another reason to run this video camera, and that is in case I get in an accident, I've got documented evidence of what happened. So, and one would think that would keep me. Yeah, they've been getting dumped on here in Steamboat. But that's why it's a ski town. There's a lot of snow here. And to that, this is looking to be a really, quite a winter. And we haven't had a big winter like this in a long time. Well, I'll take that back. I think we had one about 3 or 4 years ago where we had quite a bit of snow. But I'm reminded of what is it, Lake Powell looks like. Today, this fall. Because it looks pretty low. I mean, it's almost, it's way down. So the Rocky Mountains packing full of snow is an incredibly good thing for that area, because there are a lot of people that rely on water from that lake, and power, by the way, from the generating station. That's a good point. Everyone is set back. Well, you can sort of see the sun trying to peek through the intense cloud cover. Yeah, look at that. Must be a bit of a break in the clouds. This front is supposed to be out of here today, but apparently it's going to snow all day long. So, kind of, as far as I'm concerned, kind of blows, because I'm going to get a drive-in snow everywhere today. All right. Let's now rejoin Highway 40 in progress. Now, the ramifications of being so slowed down today. Of course, I can't really even get here until 8:30. I mean, that's my earliest time to get here nowadays, because the facility I need to go to doesn't even open until then. So every day that I need to go there, that has got to be, I have to take that into account. It's a pretty truck. Big green. Just looking. My company. Okay. That's Cindy? Wait, there's somebody I know. Well, I think it's a bit of good news as far as clearing weather goes. The fact that it's not snowing twice or three times as heavily in Steamboat. As it was in Craig, probably does mean that this thing is finally moving out. I had a little bit more snow maybe up here, but yeah, they got a lot of snow in the last few days. They're getting hammered. Get around that guy fastly, quickly. Just trying to get shoehorned into a small parking spot. Interesting. Alrighty, so that's it. So you got to take a tour of County Road 33 and River Road. So I'll talk to you later.